Everybody, welcome back to Ask For It. Today, we're going to talk about why most prospecting fails and how you can fix it in your sales process. So, a lot of times people are going out looking for leads, they're sending emails, they're doing so much activity, they're sending 100 emails a day, hoping for at least one connection. But the problem isn't the amount of activity you're doing, the problem is the connection behind it and what you're writing, the copy, even the strategy behind it as well. And so let's break that down a little bit. A lot of people always say like volume is better than what you're actually writing because if you go and knock on 1,000 doors, at least one will open. But that's a really outdated sales idea and strategy that doesn't really work today. In today's time, people care a lot more about personalization and knowing that they're being connected to people that aren't as cold and feels warmer. And so that can mean a lot of things, right? You're meaning like, what do you mean by personalization and turning people into warm? Well, let's break it down even further. In today's world, personalization is so hyper in every single industry. Even if you think about yourself, like you're on Google, you're searching for shoes, and you don't just see any shoes, you find those Nike Air Forces you're looking for in the color that you're looking for. You're getting ads that are completely catered to you, specifically you and nobody else. And that's because personalization has become so key. In business school, we learned this thing called a satisfaction gap. And essentially, it means that companies need to kind of guess what you're going to be satisfied with ahead of what you actually need. And so they do that by trying to guessing exactly like your personalization, using ads, using AI, using all these tools to kind of bridge that gap. And so as a seller, you need to do the same. You can't just send out the same email to every single person. You need to send an email that went to every single person, but feels like it was for that specific person. And that's true for cold emails, for cold calls, for cold social outreach, all of that. So many ways that you can do that. And you can make it so it's operationalized for yourself as well. So a few ways that I do this personally is I will always first kind of find out what your ICP is, which is your ideal client profile, break it down into different segments and persona groups. So for example, let's say that you're a restaurant and you're trying to reach out to some ideal customers, right? So let's say you have one group of teenagers who are on their school break and they're looking for a restaurant to go to during like lunch hour. Then you have professionals like business associates and all that who would want to go on a business lunch or take their clients out, right? So let's keep it to those two different groups. One restaurant could cater to both of these groups. However, the messaging will be completely different to both. Now I'm realizing this is a really bad example because you wouldn't cold email for restaurant clients. There's different ways to get them, but let's just roll with it because it's a little bit fun. So let's just say we're cold emailing, right, to the teenagers. You're not going to say to them, lovely restaurant, quiet space for talking, nice ambiance. They don't care about that. They care more about fast food. They can get it quickly, great meal at a really affordable rate, and it's close by. Those are the things that they care about. And so now you could send that email to a bunch of people saying, oh, we have this great food nearby. It's close, it's quick, it's affordable. But you could personalize that even further. Let's say there's 3 high schools nearby. Now you know there's 3 different high school names. So you can say, hey, I know you guys are in Pickering High. You're probably in like grade 10 and we have this special going on. Now that sounds like you sent that email to that specific person. And when you're building it out as well, give them a name. Say, oh, this is going to go to Sarah at Pickering High. Like in your head mentally. Don't actually say that. But if you can get their name, you can get more information, put that into the email. And you'll be surprised by how many tools can actually help operationalize that for you as well. So, for example, one of the tools I love, and is not sponsored, but Apollo. And one of the things you can build your list and you can say like, hi, and you insert the bracket for name, and it'll automatically put that in. And little things like that go a long distance. And so for that example, you have one persona group and then you have your second persona group, which will have a completely different message, but it's for that group. And then you can go a little deeper as well, where you kind of try and figure out their company name. And again, you can insert that into the messaging. So it's like, hey, John from XYZ company, I noticed that you take a lot of clients out. Have you checked out this restaurant? And now that email looks like it went to that specific person. So thank you for bearing with me for that horrible example using restaurants. But the whole point is that no matter what business you're in, challenge yourself to find ways to personalize your outreach and your messaging for your specific customer. And you'll be shocked by how your conversion rate on cold outreach will get even higher. Now, the second piece of what I was saying there is turning cold outreach into warm outreach. And the way to do that is through multi-touch points. And so don't just pick one. Don't just say, I'm going to do cold emailing or I'm going to do cold calling. No, mix it together and incorporate social selling as well. I'll do another episode on social selling because that's just an entire beast in itself. But I'll give you kind of the idea of it. So, for example, let's say day one, you're sending a cold email. Day two, you're sending that same person a LinkedIn message. Day three, you're giving that person a call. It's the same person, but with different outreaches. And the reason for this is like, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a prospect. Let's say you got an email and like you check your phone and you're like, oh, okay, like I got an email from John. And you're like, I don't know who John is, but you don't open it, but you see the name. Next day, you get a LinkedIn message. John sent you a connection request. Now, John's no longer a stranger. John's this guy that you saw pop up on your phone. And so sometimes the prospect would be like, let me check his email. And now you read it. And now you understand, like, okay, this is what this person is coming from. And I understand who they are. You accept their LinkedIn request. And now maybe you just leave it. But then John calls you. And now when John's calling you, he's not cold. He's a warm prospect. John's already talked to you, technically. You know who he is. It's not some random guy calling you saying, like, hey, I'm John. Like, let's talk about this product. That's how you switch people from from cold to warm. Now let's recap a little bit what we just said. So prospecting isn't about the number of ideas you're doing or the activities you're doing, or like sending 100 calls a day. It's about doing the right activities and adding personalization. So sometimes it's better to scale back and tell yourself, I can realistically send 10 emails a day or 10 calls a day or 10 LinkedIn messages or whatever a day. But those 10 messages are going to be personalized versus sending out 100 generic. Try that out and watch your conversion rates double, triple. You'll probably start booking things right away. Thank you so much for listening in. And until next time, don't forget to keep asking for it. Thank you for listening to Ask For It. If this episode was helpful, I'd love if you subscribed and shared it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready for a bit more support, I do offer one-on-one coaching. The link's in the show notes if you want to check that out. Until next time, keep showing up and don't forget to ask for it.